In this video, I'm going to be shooting and editing an entire video using an older device, the iPad Pro 9.7 inch from 2016. So like and subscribe, and let's see what this iPad is capable of. I still use this iPad in my studio, and it's just fun to use an older device and to squeeze out as much juice and power from these older devices as much as possible, especially because you can get one of these iPad Pro 9.7 inch models now on the used market for like $200 or sometimes even less, and I still think this iPad Pro is amazing. And what you're seeing right now is actually part of the footage that I'm shooting with the iPad Pro. This is the rear-facing camera, which has pretty decent quality. It even shoots 4K video, which is pretty impressive, especially once you go outside. So let me know in the comments what you think, if you have any first impressions of the quality of this iPad. So I shot some footage outside. It is scorching. It's like 103 degrees right now, so I was out there for like 5 minutes, and then I wanted to just completely cry. So here are all of the clips that I shot on this iPad. And first of all, I'm going to add these all to my camera roll so I can import them into LumaFusion. It's taking a little while because the processor on the iPad Pro is a little bit slow, and these video files are all 4K videos shot 24 frames per second in Filmic Pro. One of the observations of using this iPad is some of the tasks like this kind of thing where you're exporting videos and audio and that kind of stuff. Some of them take a little bit longer than I would notice on a newer iPad Pro, and some of the scrolling, as you can see, is a little bit choppy as well, but it looks like all of these videos were transferred to my camera roll, and wow, that actually looks pretty good for a 4-year-old iPad. This was shot in bright sunlight, 24 frames per second. I didn't use an ND filter or anything, but Filmic Pro still delivers when it comes to quality. I'm seeing lots of nice dynamic range going in there. A little bit weird on the contrast. You can see in this flower, it's kind of blown out a little bit in the colors, so it doesn't have HDR or anything in the camera. I mean, you could shoot something like this and people probably wouldn't know that you were using a 4-year-old iPad. So let's go into LumaFusion and load up some of these clips and see what it's like to actually edit. So here's LumaFusion on the iPad Pro. So the first thing we want to do is go down to this little icon and start a new project. So let's call this iPad Pro 9.7. And here's the project. And we're going to go over to videos, and I'm just going to drag these into the timeline. And nothing happened. Where are the videos? So here's glitch number 1. Okay, they're there. I actually had to step out of it and step back into the file in order to get to the file. But check it out. These are all the clips in the timeline. Scrolling feels actually relatively smooth. Really smooth, actually. So let's go ahead and play a clip and see what happens. Playback looks nice and smooth. Let's try to edit, zoom in a little bit, and edit this clip a little, trim off. Let's see. I'll stop this right here. That looks nice. And this clip right here, I'll trim it a little bit. This is actually really nice. So editing on this iPad Pro is totally possible. I mean, it's a little bit slower than using the more recent iPad Pro. I also have the 2018 iPad Pro 11 inch, and it's noticeably faster, but this is really smooth. Stuff like pinching to zoom in and out is nice and smooth. Playback seems nice and smooth. I'm not noticing any choppy jitteriness. I can full screen it and looks pretty good. Actually, this footage looks really, really good. Because this camera doesn't have HDR, I'm scrolling through some of the footage and I'm noticing that, I'm used to seeing iPhone 11 videos. HDR on iPhone 11 Pro has its own issues, but it also has its huge strengths, such as I would probably notice more details in some of the green shadows on this plant right here, for example. But, shooting directly into the sun right there, that does not look too bad. You can still see a lot of the details in the green on the leaves. Let me press play so you can kind of see. That looks nice. This looks really nice, y'all. And just scrolling around here, most of the footage looks really good. Some of the shadows look kind of dark. For example, in this clip right here, it looks like the camera was trying to compensate for the exposure of the background. So I did some close-ups here, and using the stabilization from Filmic Pro, the footage looks pretty stable. You know, all this was shot handheld, no fancy gimbals or anything like that. So I'm gonna skip ahead a little bit and edit this video on this iPad because it looks like editing will be totally fine. And let's cut to the final results.
Is it easy to be able to understand me? I think it should be interesting.
So there you go. It is possible to shoot and edit an entire video on this iPad Pro. The iPad Pro 9.7 inch from 2016 is still a pretty amazing iPad considering you can get a lot of iPad for only like $200 or even less. The camera quality is really decent, especially when you're in bright outdoor settings. It has a decent amount of stabilization and the autofocus is pretty good, not as like alien good as the more recent iPhones and iPads. So let me know what you think in the comments. Does the iPad Pro from 2016 still have some juice left in it and is worth a couple $100s? Like and subscribe, follow me on Instagram, TikTok, search for Ben Aqua on Spotify and Apple Music where you can listen to my music. I highly appreciate all of that support. Y'all are awesome. Thank you so much for watching this video and I'll see you in the next one.